Following program is brought to you by the University of Alabama.
Keith Thomson's latest two novels, Once a Spy and Twice a Spy, tell the story of Drummond Clark, who seems to be a 64-year-old retired washing machine salesman with Alzheimer's. To his son's amazement and the reader's amazement, it is revealed that Drummond is actually in the CIA and from time to time regains all his powers. I spoke with Keith Thomson in our studio in Reese Phifer Hall on the campus of the University of Alabama. Keith, it's good to see you.
Likewise, Don.
I have been looking forward to having this talk now for several years. I've kept up book to book with what you're doing, but you and I have not had a chance to talk. And this is your first time on the show, so let's kind of catch up in a way. Viewers would like to know, who is that fellow and where is he from? And I know that you're from Greenwich, Connecticut, which is a long ways from here. You are from Greenwich, basically, aren't you? Went to high school in Greenwich?
That is true. I grew up on the same street that George Bush, the first George Bush, grew up on. We weren't there at the same time. He's a little bit older than I am.
Uh-huh. And then college, works. What have you done with your life, Thomson?
Well, I don't have a very good answer for that, Don, but I went to Columbia University for college. I played a little bit of semi-professional baseball in France and didn't last long. If you're playing in the professional leagues in France, you probably should be thinking about another career.
Did you play at Columbia?
I played lacrosse at Columbia.
And not baseball?
This should give you an idea about the skill level in France and the French leagues.
It does, actually. It does give a clue. Well, how did you ever hear that there was such a thing as semi-pro ball in France, that you would go there and be a second baseman?
Well, I think we'd probably need like a 56-minute segment for that, but to make a long story short, somebody told me about it.
And did you try out?
A guy who played baseball at Yale was playing for the team there.
Uh-huh.
I tried out. I went to spring training in Parma, Italy.
Uh-huh.
I played for a team in Paris. The spring training facility is an exact duplicate of the stadium that the Mets have in Port St. Lucie for their spring training. And other than that, it was like being back in the 15th century. No Coca-Cola signs, no evidence of anything post-15th century, and it was great.
Wonderful. Did that for a while, came back, and then I know that in New York, in Manhattan, you had at least 2 or 3 jobs that you've mentioned in conversation. What did you do in New York when you returned from France? Not literature, not writing.
Well, I did write. I wrote about cereal, and the longest piece that I wrote was 30 seconds. I worked for an advertising agency. That was my first job as a writer. I was a copywriter at Saatchi Advertising for a couple of years.
Uh-huh. Writing like
commercials for Cheerios, Apple Cinnamon Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios.
Really? Is it fun?
It was a great job. I learned a lot about film production, got to travel a lot, learned a lot about just the way business works in general.
Mm-hmm. And then you had an adventure with a bank. Did you work for a bank for a while? My summer internship in college, I worked at J.P. Morgan. Oh, and you didn't go into banking.
Well, the thing is, when you grow up in Greenwich, you oftentimes go into banking, just sort of like when you grow up in certain suburbs or exurbs of Pittsburgh, you go into coal mining, and it's just what you do. And I liked it, but I just thought it'd be fun to do something a little bit more fun. And advertising, you still wore a coat and tie and could answer respectably about what you were doing to your high school friends' parents back in Connecticut, and except it was fun. It was a job where you basically play with toys. I worked on some animated campaigns, cartoons. It was a lot of fun.
That's a wonderful analogy. If you're a youngster in Detroit, you're likely to work in a car factory. If you're a youngster in certain places in Pennsylvania, you're likely to be a coal miner. If you're a youngster in Greenwich, you're likely to be in finance banking.
It's not the fairest. I should qualify the analogy a little bit. But when I was 18 or 19, when I commuted from Greenwich to Wall Street for 2 summers, I saw a documentary on PBS about coal miners in Pittsburgh going down into the mines in the morning, and it was just a long line of guys in gray flannel overalls with sallow faces, and it reminded me of the train platform at the Greenwich train station as the men awaited the train to take them into New York and then the subways to Wall Street. But I guess the biggest difference is that the coal miners don't come home to $9 million houses and country clubs.
No. It's local ethos, though. That's the fun part. But Saatchi and Saatchi set you up. What a terrible sentence that is. for what was a significant career in Hollywood. How did that bridge? I mean, what you learned in making commercials and so on, and writing copy, is that what got you to Paramount?
Sort of on the road. Like I said, I was making films that were 30 seconds long, being commercials, and I did learn about film production. The first Honey Nut Cheerios commercial that I shot, the cameraman, we went out to LA to do the shoot, had just done one of the installments of the Back to the Future series, and I was working on film sets essentially, so I was learning a lot about film production, editing, and I made use of those contacts insofar as I had an idea for a short film. I thought it'd be fun to make a film about something other than cereal at some point. And I called in a bunch of favors and editing and so forth, and I made a short film. And that short film played at the Sundance Film Festival, and as a result, I was able to get an agent and to get into longer films.
Your short film was not about Cheerios then?
It's called Cupidity. It's about an agent Cupid who's looking for a replacement.
Oh, that's cute.
It's actually a mob movie, frankly, but it starts out Hallmark.
How short is it?
It's 9 minutes.
Oh. Well, once a year, the whole world knows about those. At the night of the Academy Awards, people have themselves refreshed that those things exist. Otherwise, we don't. Not aware of them. But you worked as a screenwriter. Is that when you settled in at Paramount in Hollywood? What did you do?
I subsequently got a the proverbial 3-picture deal at TriStar. And I worked on studio projects for 3 or 4 other movie studios, and I also worked on a couple of TV shows. In terms of television, I probably had my greatest success. The show that I worked on lasted 1 episode. None of the big studio movies that I worked on were produced or have been yet. I did, however, write one movie that was produced. It was a cop comedy, or at least it was supposed to be. It ended up being something of a horror movie, and that was because the producer made a mistake in the choice of director. He hired me. It went straight to video.
Straight to video. But it got made.
That's true.
And that's what are the odds? Are the odds 1 in 10? Are the odds 1 in 100?
Well, I couldn't tell you what the odds of just a movie getting made are. I think the odds of a studio picture being made are about 1 in 30. For every property that they acquire, 29 don't get made.
How does that feel, in the sense of, I mean, I realize that you're working on a lot of different things and you're moving from one project to another, but finally there's you and your work, and you're working away, and you're writing on a script or a treatment or an adaptation of some sort. Anyway, there you are working away, and in the end, of course, you get paid, but you might not see it made. You might not ever see the thing that you worked on. Does it matter? I mean, am I sentimentalizing this, or is it just business, just work?
Well, I think I have 8 different answers for that. One of which is that it is frustrating. Another is that when you're in there, when you're playing the game, you can't really think about the odds too much, or it's tough enough to do the job as it is. And I guess just skipping to answer number 8, one of the appeals about writing books is that there's a much higher likelihood that it'll get made. If you sell a book, it'll get made. In fact, when I sold my first book, I asked my agent, I'm like, well, what do you think the odds are it'll get made? He's like, oh, 100%. I'm like, well, how can that possibly be? But it's pretty much the case. Now that I've gone and said that on the air, I'm sure that
there are no jinxes for this kind of thing.
Okay.
That's silly. You left screenwriting and decided you'd rather write fiction.
I was working on a rewrite at Paramount. I was the 4th writer on that movie. A lot of times when you see movie posters, you'll see 6 screenwriters listed, and that's because one's been replaced with another. And I was subsequently fired, and as far as I know, the movie is still in development, and there have been 3 writers or writer teams since me working on it, and it wasn't a particularly bad gig. I would have happily cleaned the bathrooms at Paramount for what they were paying me to work on it, and the day that I became a novelist, effectively had just left a 4-hour meeting where a big room full of people were giving me notes on the latest draft of my script. And it was contentious, but no more contentious than any business meeting, and it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, and it really didn't bother me all that much. But as we were walking to the parking lot, my agent just must have seen something, and he said, you know, if you want to just have what you write get done the way you want it, you could always write a novel. And I was 30, and I'd never ever once thought about it. And I was staying in a hotel in L.A. That night, and we were living up in Palo Alto, California, about 5 hours north of L.A. And I got on the internet, and Stanford University's School of Continuing Education had a fiction writing class that was starting up. The fall semester was about to start. I signed up, and my thesis project became my first book.
And your first book was The Pirates of Pensacola.
Right.
And you wrote that in a kind of normal way?
I
mean, that's not your blog book.
No,
that's your second book.
I wrote when St. Martin's Press published Pirates of Pensacola. Just one of the marketing efforts was that I would just write a blog as a sea captain, and just a year after that, another publisher printed up the blog,
which was the Whale Killing Journal.
It's called Gus Openshaw's Whale Killing Journal.
Yeah, and that actually developed organically, entry to entry, post to post, so to speak?
I think it was largely a function of sleep deprivation. We just had our first child. I was taking a paternity leave, and each day I would just log on to the internet. And the only parameter was that it'd be maritime themed, and so this was about a cat food cannery employee in Oakland near where I was living who had his arm eaten by a whale in a boating accident, and he wanted to get revenge. And so I just wrote an entry, and then the next day I wrote another entry, and then later in the week I had 7 entries, and I never spent more than an hour a day working on it. It attracted a little bit of a following. Somebody had gained access. Nowadays this is easy to do, but somebody had gained access to a satellite and was offering people the chance to scour the satellite photos in search of the whale to help Gus out. And there was a sort of a live interaction with the readers, which was nice.
And did some of the readers, that interaction with the readers, did it get into the book?
Only so far as the acknowledgments, and that shouldn't be understated because it's wonderful to have feedback while you're doing it. If the character doesn't take something other than the path of least resistance, which is a common novelist error, the readers will let you know about it. If the character does something that moves them one way or the other, they'll let you know. And it's nice to get that kind of feedback. It's hard as a writer to get feedback. It's hard as a human to get feedback. It's hard to get feedback if you bring home a woman to your family to introduce. It's hard to get honest feedback, let alone about a story. People always say, "Oh, I love it. It's great."
All right. Usually at the end of this program, I ask the guest, what are you working on now? And you've already indicated to some extent that you don't like to talk about that.
Well, it's just.
But when you wrote the Gus Openshaw, it was perpetually that, wasn't it? I mean, it was every day.
Well, I wasn't planning for it to be a book. It was just something that I was doing while I was on my paternity leave, and it was maritime themed, and wherever possible, Gus plugged Pirates of Pensacola.
Right. Now, how does hepatitis fit into all this? It doesn't with.
No, I contracted hepatitis A, and I recommend that young writers do so for the following reason, which was that I was unable to continue my studies at Stanford because I was sent to bed by the doctor for 6 weeks right at the start of my second semester. And I was in bed, and all I could do was sleep and read books. So it's a really great disease, first of all. It wasn't terribly painful. And I read about 60 maritime books that were research for Pirates of Pensacola. Had I not had the disease, I wouldn't have done that research. And had I gone back to Stanford, I might not have continued writing Pirates of Pensacola, which I'd started in the first semester. But I kept on going with it, and my agent sold it to St. Martin's, and that was the end of my academic career.
And then you moved to Birmingham, Alabama. Now, you were not the Alabamian, but your wife has family there.
My wife has family. That was the prime attraction, as well as Vulcan, the statue of Vulcan.
And are you enjoying Vulcan?
I mostly am enjoying my wife's family. She has a large and terrific family. If you've ever heard of a terrific family, these are the people.
Good. Two novels have appeared. Two novels of yours have appeared in rapid fire recently. Once a Spy and Twice a Spy. And they are spy novels. They're adventure, thriller, espionage, lots of high-tech devices, lots of chases and mayhem. And I read that you are a journalist involved with intelligence for the Huffington Post. What is it you do for the Huffington Post? What do you cover? And how and why are you qualified to do it?
I have no qualifications. I think that I've done a little bit of reporting, but it's just you get stories. I hear stuff and pretty much write it down.
So you were never in the CIA?
I was in the CIA once for a party. That's the extent of it.
Of course, even if you were, you wouldn't be allowed to tell me, etc.
Had I been in the CIA, in the course of my research, in the course of my reporting, I've found that the men and women of the clandestine service are, without a doubt, our most underrated heroes. I'd proudly and freely admit it. There'd be no reason not to. Or I'd give you an answer like that, which would be elaborate cover.
Good. They're both the novels have a premise. There's a very particular donné that the reader just has to take in and like, and then you can enjoy all the rest. And that is that this older man, a man now, how old is your hero? 65? 64. And he appears to be a retired washing machine salesman. And he was actually in clandestine services, but now he has Alzheimer's. Does that sound right?
That's exactly right. It's not unusual that covert operations officers will work in a non-official cover, like an appliance salesman or an IBM executive. He posed as a washing machine salesman. He is afflicted with Alzheimer's disease at a relatively early age, unfortunately, and more unfortunately, his colleagues view him as a liability to talk about a certain secret, and they decide that the best course of action is to neutralize him, which is spy parlance for to kill him.
Right. And his son comes upon the scene. He and his son have been estranged for, well, I guess ages, 20 years or whatever. And his son is I say professional gambler. That's too optimistic, isn't it? He's just an addicted gambler.
They've been they've fallen out of touch. It's been a couple years since they spoke. They've basically been estranged for 10 years. The son is 30. He's a professional horse player, and he's actually pretty good at it, which is to say that he ekes out a profit. 99% of horse players don't. The dad has no choice but to turn to him for help. The son has no idea that the dad has been a spy, so they have to do some catching up real quick.
So the son, all the while the boy was being raised, every morning Dad got up and went to work, so to speak. The boy never knew.
It's not unusual in real life. The children of spies are told at most that mom or dad works for the State Department.
Well, let's talk about Mom for a second. Mom is in the first book. I don't think she appears in the second book, does she?
Well,
no.
Something happens to her that would be somewhat of a spoiler for readers if they haven't read the first book.
But did she know of her husband's occupation all along?
They were honeymooners. That's how they met. Honeymooners is a husband-wife cover, and a lot of times the cover bleeds into real life. You're sharing a bed with someone for 6 months on an undercover operation in a foreign land where there's no one else to talk to, and you've been chosen to be a couple because you have a lot of things in common to begin with. So the CIA is often called the world's biggest matchmaking organization
because of the undercover assignments.
Because so many couples meet that way.
Oh, I really no idea. I don't think of the CIA and romance together at all. Your hero, whose name I seem not to know at the moment.
Drummond.
Drummond, yeah. Drummond fades in and out of his Alzheimer's. When he has moments of clarity, he becomes a kind of Superman with terrific powers. I mean, martial arts and MacGyver-esque escapes and contraptions.
He's a spy who has, like a lot of spies, a lot of skills along those lines, a lot of training. He's very brave, very resourceful. He has episodes of lucidity now and again. Those happen with the same degree of randomness that a basketball player of middling ability would sink 5 3-point shots in a row. And
the expertise that comes back is not only... What I thought was interesting was that what comes back to Drummond is not only mental clarity, but also physical ability. He becomes agile. He becomes a kind of trained killer. He is a kind of trained killer when he's on, and then it just disappears. What sparks his episodes of clarity?
Well, like I said, they're generally random, but some of the times they're in grave danger, and that may play a role.
Is it adrenaline kind of thing?
A lot of the times, the son comes to the conclusion that it's because he is in peril, and that helps.
I think this is now going to be at least a mini-series, shall we say, because there is a second. But I thought the best fun in both books was watching the boy's astonishment, his surprise, the revelation. Oh my God, this can't be. What am I looking at here? That's hard to sustain, isn't it?
Well, he always thinks that Dad is a doddering old appliance salesman, and when Dad first gains clarity and beats up somebody who's trying to kill him, it's like, wow, Dad's really getting his money out of his Y membership.
Yes, and you got your money's worth out of Columbia because you managed to put your climax of Volume 1 underneath Columbia University in what was, in World War II, the research labs, right?
There were Manhattan Project labs underneath Columbia, and it's really nice as a novelist to be able to blow up your school.
Yeah. When you signed your contract to write Once a Spy, it was a 2-book contract?
That's right. I had no idea when Once a Spy sold that I'd be writing a second book, but they offered me a 2-book deal, and I thought that would be great. It's like a kid who is told by his parents, oh, you can stay outside and play longer. I like the characters. I even like the bad guys.
Right.
it was fun.
And you're going to work. Are you going to work towards? Is there going to be a number 3?
Well, there's going to be a movie of Once a Spy, and that'll be the next phase of the Spy series, and we'll take it from there.
Ah, so when I ask you what you're doing next, that's the project that's next. Is the movie of Once a Spy?
I'm really only involved in sitting by the phone and hoping that it rings saying that the movie is going to go into production now. It's being developed by Sony. That's the extent of my involvement. I've offered some technical advice, but my capacity as technical advisor just consists of, in turn, calling my sources who used to be KGB or CIA and asking them the questions and then relaying them to Sony.
So, in terms of a novel, what will you do next?
I am working on another novel. It's a secret project.
And so it should be. Well, when the secret is revealed, I'm looking forward to sitting down and reading it. Keith, thank you very much. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Don.